Hey everyone, it's Allison. Welcome back to my channel, Baby Stepping to Freedom. Today I'm going to talk about the budget. It has been a couple months since I posted our monthly budget, and I thought I would give an explanation of why. Because I was posting our budget every single month and showing you guys exactly where we were spending our money and what we were spending our money on, and then I just stopped. And it's not because we're not budgeting. It's for a completely different reason. We are still budgeting, but our budget has had to change and it has been rough for us. So I'm going to tell you about the changes and how we're coping with that. So a little history of how we've budgeted. Really the only way that we know how to budget is twice a month. So ever since we started our debt-free journey, we budgeted twice a month, at the beginning of the month and halfway through the month. So my paydays are the last weekday of the month, which is essentially the beginning of the next month. And Aaron's paydays were the 1st and the 15th. So we always had one payday at the beginning of the month and one payday on the 15th. And that's when we budgeted. So all of our paychecks were consistent and we knew exactly when we were going to get them and had a system in place for budgeting. This is the only way that we have ever budgeted. Before we started our debt-free journey, we didn't really have a budget. We had our bills written down and we paid them, but we did not do a budget like how we do it now. It didn't happen. So we've never had to change what we do. It worked great for us because not only were we budgeting the money that we were getting, but we were also scheduling our payments based on the paycheck. So essentially we would say these bills come out of this paycheck and these bills come out of this paycheck. I soon realized after joining the debt-free community and looking at how other people budgeted that that's not really how everyone does it, which makes sense now that we've had to change our budget, that not everyone does it in that way. But because our paydays were always at the same time, we were able to say, these bills come from this paycheck and these bills come from this paycheck. And that worked great for us because that's how we learned how to budget, and it made sense to both of us. Well, here's what happened. In the end of April, Aaron's company was acquired, aka purchased, by another company. And fortunately, he kept his job, which was a concern in the beginning, but unfortunately, they have different pay periods. So instead of the 1st and the 15th, now it's every other Friday, which I know a lot of people do, and I know that people have made that work, but my issue with that is the payday comes at a different date every month. So I was freaking out trying to figure out how I was going to schedule my bills when the paychecks came at different times throughout the month. Like, I didn't know how I was going to handle that, and Aaron was just as lost as I was. So in April, I sent out a call for help to all my people on Instagram saying, how do you guys budget every other week? Like, that's not something that I know how to do. So I needed some ideas and to hear how other people do it so we could kind of figure out what was going to work for us, because my payday would remain the last weekday of the month, and then Aaron's would be at various times. Sometimes it would be when I got paid, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes we would have like 3 paydays in a row, and I just don't know how to manage that. I don't know what that looks like in budgeting and making sure our bills get paid on time and making sure we have enough money and all the things. I just felt like I was starting from scratch. I was like, wow, this is what it feels like to not know how to budget. I forgot that feeling for a little while because we were so in tune with our budget and we both had a system and we knew what we were doing, and then this just threw a big wrench into it and we had to start all over. So we got lots of ideas from Instagram. Aaron sat down and read everything that people had commented. Obviously, I read everything that people had commented, and then we had multiple conversations about what made sense to each of us. So the problem when two people are budgeting together is we have to make sure that the way that we budget makes sense and works for both of us. How we used to do it made sense and worked for both of us, but there were things that I liked about what people were saying that did not make sense to Aaron. His brain didn't work that way, and there were things that he wanted to do that I was like, that I just don't understand how that's gonna work, and it just didn't make sense in my mind either. So we really had to go back and forth for a long time and look at all different options and figure out, okay, what is gonna work best for us, because I don't know how to do this. So here's what we settled on. We decided to try. We are still in the trial phase here because I don't really know how it's gonna look long term, but we decided to try the method of getting a month ahead. Now, if we would have started this at the beginning of our debt-free journey, if we were trying to figure this out, we would not have been able to get a month ahead. That wouldn't have worked for us. So it works now because we're debt-free and because we don't have all of our money going to debt payments. We were able to kind of pause baby step 3 temporarily while we saved up a month's worth of Aaron's income so we can budget with that. So basically what we're doing is Aaron's paycheck gets deposited into a separate, it's actually going into a savings account right now. And that just stays, we're not budgeting with that money until the next month. So he'll have 2 paydays in June, and those 2 paychecks will go into a savings account, and at the beginning of July, when I get paid, we'll take my paycheck, his 2 paychecks from June, and do an entire month's budget rather than 2 budgets in a month. So we were able to do that in June. So May was a tight month for us because basically we only lived on 1 income in May, which we were able to do, but it was tight. It was not what we were used to doing. So we budgeted based on 1 income in May. We're just really tight. We did a pantry challenge. We just spent as little money as possible. And then we saved up Aaron's 2 May paychecks, and then in June used them with my paycheck to budget for the entire month of June. The problem was that Aaron's first May paycheck was less than almost half of what it normally would be because of the day that the new company took over and the old company went away and all that. So his 2 paychecks weren't what they normally will be. So our first real trial month will be July, where we'll actually see, okay, here's 2 real paychecks, and we'll be able to budget for the month with 2 real paychecks, because June was still a little wonky because he got 3/4 of his pay for May, if that makes sense. So we're still trying this out, but I've already learned that there's some good things and there's some bad things. I'm trying not to be too negative, so I'm gonna say the good things first because I do not like this change. But good things first. Pro is that we only have to budget once a month. So we get all of our money at one time and that's it. We are able to do more at the beginning of the month. Like if we're gonna cash flow something, we can just cash flow it all at the beginning of the month rather than doing half in the beginning and half later. We just have all of our money at one time. So that is definitely a pro. I think it might be my only pro so far. Cons are having to change everything, having money sitting. The fact that we get his paychecks and it just sits in an account is really difficult for me. I know that my weakness, and Aaron has this weakness too, but it's more of a weakness for me than him, is money sitting. Just, there's money there. I feel like I need to spend it. I'm obviously the spender in this relationship. Aaron is a mild spender. So the fact that we have both of his paychecks sitting in an account right there, I'm trying to not think that's a safety net. Oh, well, we'll just pull from that. That's not an option in my mind. It's really messing with my brain that we have money sitting and I can't spend it yet. It's also a con that if we run out of money, we don't have another paycheck to replenish. So in the past, let's say grocery money. Our grocery money only had to last us 2 months, and then we had another payday where we could replenish if we're like, oh shoot, we forgot to get chicken this a shopping trip, we could budget for it the next shopping trip. We can kind of do that now, but for example, we set aside $360 for groceries in June. I think that's enough. That's about what we normally budget for in a month. But I have my birthday coming up and I'm having a birthday barbecue, and I realized that all of the things that I'm gonna buy for my birthday party is not really included in my grocery money, but it's gonna come from my grocery money. But I don't know if there's enough for that and groceries. So it's just things like that that I don't have another payday coming up to replenish for those things that I maybe forgot about or ran out of money for, those kinds of things, because that's what I'm used to doing. So there we have it. You are not going to be seeing a budgeting video from me until I figure this out. I still, as you can tell, am like processing how this is going to work for me. I feel like we're probably going to need to tweak some things, but overall, for the short period of time that we've done it, it's working out okay for us. So we might have to change a few things, but I think this is probably what we're going to end up sticking with. Unfortunately, I don't like it, but I'm gonna stay positive because I don't have a choice. So once I start figuring it out, or maybe just like coming to terms with this change, I will start posting budget videos again, but give me a little bit of time before I do that. If you have paychecks every other week, and maybe if you are in the same situation as me, every other week and once a month, leave me a comment below and tell me how you do it, because this change is messing me up. It's really hard for me to cope with this, as you can see. A lot of people on Instagram told me that they really liked getting paid this way, so I think I'm just gonna need to have some time to get used to the change, figure out a new rhythm, and I'll not probably be fine. I know I'll be fine. It's really okay. It's just change. And you know, we don't do well with change. Most people do not do well with change. As you can tell, I do not do well with change, especially when it comes to my money. So let me know how you feel about every other paydays. While you're down there, if you haven't subscribed yet, please just press that red subscribe button to keep supporting me and keep checking in on all my new videos. And I'll be back very soon with a new one. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.